So I guess we got even more new leaked Diddy party footage. You guys remember everything to do with the baby oil, right? I mean, how could you forget? Well, allegedly in this clip, you could hear somebody talking
all about the money.
As the New York Post becomes the first news outlet to actually admit to seeing these Diddy freak-off tapes and providing some...
You won't believe what went down with Demi Moore at Diddy's party. Word is, she was living it up like there was no tomorrow, and let's just say, we've got all the juicy details. Remember when she was all about that calm, zen lifestyle? Well, it looks like the yoga mat took a backseat to the dance floor, and she went full-on party mode. Ready to hear how Hollywood's queen of chill turned into the life of the party in just one night? Let's dive in.
Right. And this is just my opinion. Again, this is not a fact or anything. I'm speculating here. If the feds do a raid on someone so prominent, so influential, and as well rich, right, who has lawyers, money for lawyers, they wouldn't do that unplanned and just because they're trying to find something. I think there was definitely probable cause, as they say. A lot of people are speculating and just say, okay, they if they go all at the same time in all three houses, right, New York, Miami, and LA, they have to have something on him. There has to be something, but you never know until he is officially charged, right?
Right. And to be clear, we are speculating here, but obviously if he has been working with the feds as an informant and now they're showing up to his house with these massive raids, that either means they're turning on him or they're just doing this for show. I mean, what do you think is happening? Again, speculative, completely opinion.
Right. So this is just what I heard, that no one knew whose house they were raiding. Actually came out of Jaguar Wright. She actually talked about that. The feds didn't know whose house they were raiding, so no one could be informed, or he could not be informed that this is really happening, right? At the same time, this lawsuit that he did against De Leon, or, this big liquor company, they're very influential people, and maybe they just wanted to show him, listen, if you come against us, we're gonna go and ruin you, and as well maybe just to retrieve the tapes that he has in his house, allegedly, right? I mean, those are the tapes that have a lot of people on it that he could blackmail and get some more favor.
Remember when Demi Moore was all about kale smoothies and hot yoga? Well, those days are behind her, honey. Let me tell you about the night she rolled up to Diddy's party and left everyone shook. No yoga mat in sight. Demi showed up like she owned the place. Turning heads the second she stepped out of her ride. She wasn't serving Zen vibes this time. She was all fire and energy. Eyewitnesses said the party's mood shifted the moment she walked in, like the whole room got an energy boost just from her presence. And let's talk about her look. A jaw-dropping little black dress, perfectly fitted, sky-high heels, and enough diamonds to light up the room. She looked flawless, her hair wild and free, like she just stepped off a yacht. Once she hit the dance floor, it was game over. Demi was everywhere, dancing with a young hottie 1 minute and leading a conga line the next. People couldn't get enough. One partygoer even said it felt like she brought back the spirit of Studio 54. Demi wasn't just at the party. She was the party.
So it's interesting because he keeps crying it's a witch hunt, but I guess there is potentially a theory where the feds are in or have been aware and know, and maybe are trying to gather all the intel to know, well, what do you actually know and have on us? It could be what's actually happening here. Is that a possibility?
Yeah, I don't think it's a witch hunt. In the end of the day, there's so many years that people have tried to talk about him and already said the truth, and it's always the same story. So how is it that so many different people from different artists, girlfriends, and so on, affiliates, say the same thing about him? So something has to be true about it, right? And I can just say that when I was around him, again, he has never mistreated me in any type of way at all. Again, we did not have much contact or anything like that. But I have seen his outbursts, and then certain things that I have heard from very close friends of mine that were even closer to him, right? Things that he would do. So it all makes sense,
I'm glad you said that because I want to get into these outbursts and these personal experiences. But when I even say that, I just mean it could be a witch hunt in his mind if he's
Right.
friendly with the feds who are helping to cover up some of the operation, is what I'm just trying to get at. And he's now crying witch hunt like he's a victim, when in reality, there might be corruption in the FBI for all we know, or whatever is going on. There could be something shady going on, or maybe they were just using him to get to something else. There's so much more to unpack here, but let's get into the sort of stuff because you've been to the parties, right? I guess my first question is like, what are these parties like? Are there two kinds of parties? It feels like he puts some parties on for show to look classy and bring the celebrities to, but then the parties evolve into more debaucherous things. Do you have any experience at either of those? And is that assumption correct?
Right. I mean, I have more been to like album release party, the last train to Paris, that famous party with Kevin Hart, Trey Songz, and so on. I was at that party. That was really just a really nice party that he did. If people did drugs or not, I didn't see it, but I'm sure that it happened. But that was not like a party as a freak off, as he calls it, right?
Yep.
I was never part of that. Although I have provided girls to his affiliate to go to certain parties, but it was girls, right? And in the end of the day, those girls don't tell me who they're seeing or what really happened. It's just very discreet. So yeah, they were paid and they went on their way.
So you have no firsthand experience, or at least you're not sharing any firsthand experience of any of these sort of freak offs or extreme things that we're hearing in all these.
But the real moment that set the tone. Dami's first drink of the night, and let me tell you, it wasn't kombucha. She strutted straight to the bar, locked eyes with the bartender, and confidently ordered a double shot of top-shelf tequila. No sipping, no fuss. Demi threw it back like a pro, leaving the bartender so impressed he started mixing a cocktail just for her. Word is it's called Demi's Detox, but let's be real, there's nothing detox about it. By now, the whole party was buzzing about Demi. It was like watching a whole new version of her emerge, bold, unstoppable, and ready to own the night. People were placing bets on what she'd do next, and let me tell you, nobody could have seen it coming. The energy was electric, the night was still young, and Demi? She was just getting started. If you thought her entrance was unforgettable, you won't believe what went down next. The streets are saying one thing loud and clear. Demi Moore is back, and she's not here to play, she's here to slay.
The details in these are pretty crazy. Let's go through what the New York Post is alluding. The freak-offs coincided with some of the biggest star-studded parties at the height of his fame, they say, with at least 3 wild parties taking place hours after major events, according to a trove of video files and documents viewed exclusively by the Post, which I can confirm. I haven't seen any other news outlet that actually has a legal department that can get sued, like the Post, actually admit to seeing them. Even TMZ and other outlets haven't gone there yet. These clips suggest that, we'll call it the big O, the O word, which federal prosecutors say sometimes involved women being, coerced, etc., to perform things, hours-long acts, were happening just below the surface as Diddy rubbed elbows with the biggest names in Hollywood music and sports. Now, again, they're saying this stuff happened at the same time, but they're not connecting any celebrities to these parties yet. And they make a point to do that again later in the article. In the early morning hours of August 29, 2005, the Diddy after party from the MTV VMAs was still going strong. Actress Eva Longoria chatted with Fergie in one corner, Ice-T, Quincy Jones, Jeff Gordon, Paris Hilton mingled with guests. They put a lot of pictures in here with these celebrities to almost allude to, see, they know. But it's clear they didn't, judging by this article. Combs had hosted the VMAs, and the after party was the hottest ticket in town that night. But one by one, the celebrities left the party, and there is no indication they knew about or were invited to what happens next. That's key here, guys, because again, were they involved in criminal behavior, coercing, threatening, all that stuff? That's what we need to know. If they were just having a party with Diddy and doing private acts, it's really none of our business. Now, I know some of you still want to know, but we're not going to tell you that. And that's what my previous video was about. Soon, the event moved from the inside at Space nightclub to Diddy's mansion. From there, it appears to have descended into a raucous ex-party, according to photos and videos viewed by the Post. By then, all the stars appeared to have gone, except for one, Diddy. They were replaced by a cast of fit young men and women, all in various stages of undress. Now, were they against their will? That's what we need to figure out. Unclear. The Post article doesn't really allude to that. They do mention this, though, as two white men took turns having relations with a young black woman who clearly had, let's say, substance of a certain color under her nose. Take that as you will. Diddy could be seen in the background wearing a white t-shirt with the words, "God's the greatest." It's the same shirt he's seen here that he wore at the VMA's after party in various clips in the media. In another clip from that night, a couple has loud relations on a table as a group of well-dressed people stood around. Now, again, was this consensual? That's going to be the main point here. The post doesn't get into much detail. Seems to allude that they don't know. It seems like they must have. I assume the post would write it if they sensed otherwise, but who knows? The videos reviewed by the Post are part of the same archive that includes footage that appears to show Diddy having relations with a major younger male A-list star. That video has been shopped around for sale to news outlets by more than one purported seller. Now, again, the videos reviewed are part of the same archive that includes. Does that mean they saw it themselves? It's a little unclear to me what actually they're saying here, and I don't know.
If you thought Demi's entrance was a showstopper, that was just the warm-up. When the DJ dropped the beat, she transformed completely. The dance floor became her kingdom, and she was the reigning queen. And girl, you better sit down for this tea, because the guy she was dancing with wasn't just any random hottie. Oh no, it was none other than Zac Efron. Yep, Troy Bolton himself. High School Musical just got a grown-up remix, and let me tell you, it was steamy asterisk. Once the music hit, Demi unleashed moves that had everyone staring. She was dancing like her life depended on it. Salsa 1 minute, twerking the next. People couldn't believe their eyes. This wasn't the polished Demi we see at Hollywood galas. This was Demi unfiltered, raw, and ready to party. And those dance moves? Let me break it down for you. She was dropping it low, bringing it up slow, spinning, dipping, and serving body rolls that could hypnotize anyone watching. At one point, she even busted out the robot and somehow made it sexy. Her hair flips alone deserved their own spotlight. Beyonce would have been taking notes. Demi Moore wasn't just dancing. She was oming asterisk the night, and no one could take their eyes off her.
No. I mean, again, I just wasn't part of it, but I could
Oh, okay,
see.
but you've heard.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, again, I have girls provided to go to these parties, but I'm not going to ask them details because that's just something that's discretion, and that's on them.
But was
right?
there ever any this went too far? Because obviously consenting adults can be consenting adults, but from some of these allegations, there's stuff where it's like, whoa, there's not consent, and there's,
Yeah,
people
no.
not of the right age. Did you ever hear any rumblings of that?
No, because in the end of the day, everyone that has dealt with me in business or any type of way, anywhere where my girls went, it was definitely consent and they were definitely of age. Whatever happens outside of that, I would never be part of it. But I could see that happen. Absolutely.
It doesn't surprise you, but you have no experience with it. Understood. Okay. And then so regarding the freak-offs, you're not under, they are believable to you, but you don't have any proof of how bad they've gotten. Now, all right, got you. Your experience with Diddy, though, you have met him. He seems like a nice guy, but then he also seems to have these outbursts. Have you experienced either of those scenarios?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he would be happy in his party mode in the way that everyone knows him, like being the king of parties. And then he would turn around and just have an outburst and go crazy at everyone around him, right? More like staff, I would say. If he gets mad at the staff, then they're going to feel it.
What is it a lack of control? Is it just a power trip? Like what is when you witness that in the moment, where do you think it comes from?
So let's say something had to be done and it wasn't done, then he would just go over the top, angry, crazy, throwing things around, and people have to deal with that,
You talk about earlier, the first part, we alluded to it, but the taping of everything. So that had been something you had heard that was obviously around the circles that people sort of knew and expected. Have you seen the NDA? Did you have to sign any of those NDAs that he provided?
No, because I was always with the head of security and some people that are around him as well. Of course, I met Harf and a bunch of other executives from Bad Boy, but there was never really like that. And again, I think I was not really the person they were probably going after, because I was literally at that time between 20 and 24. That was like the time when I was around them. So I was not really a person that they would be afraid of, right? I mean, I was a so-called immigrant.
Right. They could probably easy to threaten you based on the activities you're doing for them, and obviously, so that's probably a little bit more. They felt safer around you.
Right. And at the same time, you have to see they counted on the fact that I will be snitching, but I have not. And that's usually how it is, because obviously the feds come with a whole case against me, and they were right about it in the end of the day. I'm not saying I'm innocent. I was clearly guilty. So if I would snitch, then I couldn't say nothing about them, right? But I just decided not to snitch, because that's not really the way how, if you mess up, you have to stand tall in that sense, you just have to deal with the consequences. And but I think with a lot of people they probably dealt with that have snitched, because they are big, there's just a long time that you probably have to sit in prison,
Yeah.
And then those people can't talk about it, because obviously they have been rats themselves.
The crowd was absolutely losing it. Nobody saw this coming. A-listers were stunned, influencers forgot to hit record, and even the wait staff froze in place. One celeb was overheard saying, "If this is the real Demi, we've been missing out." The energy in that room was unreal, and Demi was at the center of it all. But just when everyone thought she'd hit her peak, Demi took things to the next level. With the music pumping and the crowd going wild, she made a beeline for the DJ booth. People stepped aside like she was royalty, watching as she climbed up there in stilettos like it was nothing. What happened next? Pure magic. Demi grabbed the mic, the music cut out, and she belted the opening lines to Asterisk, It's Raining Men Asterisk, like she was headlining a concert. The crowd went wild. People were singing, climbing on tables, and throwing their hands in the air. It felt like a movie, but it was all happening right there. And don't think that was the end of her night. Demi was on fire, and the party was just getting started. Whatever came next was bound to be even crazier, so stay tuned. This story isn't over yet.
Where your mugshots on your social, you wear it now sort of proudly. I mean, that experience, what was that like for you?
Well, the thing is this, it's not that I'm proud of what I have done. This picture is before I got released, and the experience that I went through. In the beginning, which I think most people do, they felt like, oh, yes, I got betrayed, but it was my fault because I have done what I have done, right? So I deserve to go to prison. And in that experience in prison, I grew up really quick and learned, okay, if I have another chance to be free, because it's not nice to be in prison, not nice to be in Rikers Island or in the New York prison in general, I will do everything the right way and never do something illegal again, which I stand by. I have built up another business. I have I just became a mom, which was very great. So in that time in prison, I just had to learn. So this is why that picture is not me being proud, but me being able to change, right? When I look back, this is 10 years ago I got released, right? So in prison itself, especially as a foreigner, right? They say the new black, orange is the new black. That is like it's not as similar at all. Okay, it's way worse. It's harsher. If you're a foreigner, they want to try medications out on you. They definitely always want to put you in lock. There's a lot of violence going on, and you have to move very smart and not be loud. And the good thing is, I'm not someone that's looking for conflict. I'm not really like a big fighter and stuff. I just had built up my friends and my alliances there in prison, and that way we were able to survive together, for these 2 years.
You also, I know you heard stories of Cassie, right, at the time, about what her experiences. Do you believe Cassie? He settled that lawsuit so quick. What are your thoughts on the sort of Diddy Cassie situation?
Well, I have met her before. She's a very beautiful, nice person. Obviously, I was not someone that was a lot around her, but when I was in the studio at Daddy's house and stuff, she was there. I actually have hooked her up with another artist once to get on a song, and then somehow it just didn't come through. But I did not know all the things that happened. Now it makes sense that she was so quiet and looking down on the floor and stuff, right? But I definitely believe it, and I think there was a lot of abuse going on, just from the stories that I heard from friends that actually were there, right? Because I wasn't there personally, but from people that I know really well, close sources that have told stories how he would treat her in front of other people, that just shows probably in private it was even worse, you know?
Do you believe other celebrities have been complicit in all this? And do you think that they should be worried with this Fed investigation happening?
Yeah, I'm sure because, I mean, he's a big person in the industry. He's a mogul, as they call him, right? So people want to be part of it. They don't want to be lame, and maybe just look the other way, which humans trying. It's just a human thing to do, right? If you know someone, if you like someone, if you look up to them, and they see they do wrong, a lot of people want to look the other way, and just to be part of whatever they could do for you, So I definitely think a lot of people should. I mean, people who are implicated, they should be afraid of it. Yeah, if they were part of it, for sure.
I know and thank you for watching. You've told us you've watched the show, so I imagine you've followed the allegations, everything we've been covering. But Little Rod, there's been obviously some conflicting thoughts on him and the way his lawyers filed it. Do you believe the Little Rod allegations and what's in there?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's that old trick of like, you're looking up to that Stevie J, right? As a producer, let me show you what he does. Like all this mind tricking of thinking of people, you have to be this way to make it in Hollywood. And you have to do all these things that you really don't want to do because your talent is not enough. You have to do all these things. The way he said it, it makes completely sense that he tried to really mess with his head, He messed with his head and he said, look, if you do this, you're going to get this and all these things. And it's just known in the industry, right? I mean, again, I was in the music industry for a little bit and I have met some great people, but a lot of it is really just who you know and what you can do for them, right? I don't really believe, a lot of people who made it big, they probably had to do something for it. Not saying they're not talented at all. I'm just saying mostly people in Hollywood, they had to pay their dues.
Well, another person who got sort of snitched and almost in a way, or almost was this Brandon Paul person who apparently is his alleged dealer and was his mule, who was arrested in the Miami airport for a period of time. I'm sure he's watching this stuff, paying attention. He's probably terrified of snitching on anybody. But what is your advice to him as someone who's sort of now in a way more complicated situation than even you were dealing with Diddy?
We all know Demi's got moves, but can she handle her liquor like she handles a mic? Oh, you bet she can, and then some. When she hit the bar, even the most seasoned partiers weren't ready for what went down. Let's just say by the end of the night, she had some A-listers looking like amateurs. After her show-stopping mic drop moment, Demi strolled over to the bar and casually ordered 3 shots of top-shelf tequila for herself. No sharing here. She downed them one after the other like it was nothing, leaving the bartender completely speechless. But that was just the start. Demi wasn't slowing down. She moved on to more daring drinks. Long Island iced teas, zombies, and a special concoction called Asterisk, Demi's Inferno Asterisk, that looked like it could power a rocket. This wasn't casual sipping. Demi was all in, partying like it was her last night on Earth.
He's all over the blogs. On top of that, it's not even like on the low, so people are watching what he does. I mean, the thing is this, if he, in the end of the day, it's not like Puff is going to be his best friend and he has to take one for the team. Everyone is looking out for themselves. So I'm not telling him to snitch because in the end of the day, if he did something wrong, then he has to do his time for that, right? So you did something, you were selling drugs, then that's what happened. But I don't know if he necessarily has to snitch on Diddy. I don't know. Maybe that's just a part of it. I don't know how far he is, but he got caught with drugs. So you have to go to prison for drugs,
Yeah. Do the time. If you do the crime, you got to do the time. Right. Exactly. Then you can be rehabilitate and get it better. It's obviously what's key here. But do you think there's a version of this where someone like him snitches on Diddy, or do you think that whole group and circle is so tight and terrified that they won't do anything to go against him?
Well, the thing is this, now the feds have a lot of pressure on them to really make this case work or stick, right? So I don't know this man, but it seems he's a younger person, who was impressed, of course, being around Puff and all that. So it's probably not too hard to put a little bit fear into him as a Fed, right? And say, look, if you don't cooperate with you, you're going to do 20, 40 years. Same thing they did with me. They said it's 25 to life that I'm going to get. And they're trying to scare you, right? But in the end of the day, he just should talk to a lawyer and get advice from a lawyer and then take one step at a time and don't get... just take everything what the feds say or trying to threaten him with I don't say literally, maybe, I don't know. Because sometimes it's better to just sit down real quick before you say anything, talk to a lawyer, and not
Facts.
do anything else, right? But sometimes, I mean, like I said, I mean, they tried the same with me. I didn't talk to them, you know. I just said I want a lawyer.
But was that was really a loyalty in you, or was was there honestly fear more outweighing the other?
No, I mean, again, I have dealt with different type of people, not a puff. Some, let's say a little bit different people, right? But which I would never snitch on, ever. So of course it was a fear, but at the same time, in that moment, I didn't even think if it's 20, 25 years. I'm thinking like, how can I get out of this? Because it just can't be happening to me. I was so naive, right? I'm like, there has to be a mistake. Why are they coming after me? I'm the little person, right? But in the end of the day, when I understood a little bit more how this works, the system, and how is a favor for a favor, and people know each other, I had to play that for the best of my part, right? I mean, what do they want from me, and what do I don't want to give them, you know? It's a difficult question, but I'm just saying, if you get involved in something like this, you have to count on the fact that you will go down one day and you have to do time, or worse, you might not survive. Who knows, right?
Yeah, I mean, talk about not surviving. I hope we're trying to get in touch with Gene. Maybe you can help us connect. I know he's got a lot, but speaking of not surviving, there have been so many allegations regarding connections to Diddy's involvement with the death of Biggie and Tupac and others, the shooting with Shine. Do you think those rumors are fair? Do you think there's potential that Diddy was more involved in, those situations than he claims to be?
Well, I mean, Gene is a whole lot more knowledgeable in that, and he's a good friend of mine. So he is around there. He knows all these things, and in the end of the day, it's been rumored for a very long time, right? I mean, we talk about this is like almost 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago. Yeah. So it's almost 30 years ago soon, and Keefe D, I think, got arrested for something, and then he said some sort of story, but he was on the pressure as well from the feds. I think somehow different people were involved, but that's just, again, I wasn't there. I would say Gene is the better person to talk about it, because he has just more knowledge of it. I don't want to say something that is not really true, but I think he is involved, because in the end of the day, how much money did he make when Biggie died? I think it was 600 million with all the music that came out after that. And he always contribute, because he wanted to leave, I think, the night in LA. He's supposed to be in England, then he didn't go there. There was beef in LA. Why would you go out there like that? It was all a little bit fishy and weird, So I hope everything will be solved, but maybe we will never know,
Well, I can't imagine some of these people involved aren't watching these interviews. They got to be nervous about everything coming out. Any final thoughts or things you want to say to Diddy or that crew while you're here?
No, I just think karma goes around, comes around, and obviously I did my time, and I deserved that. I had to do that time, which is fine. It gave me a lot of life experience. But for everyone, even very influential people, they're not God. One day they have to answer to God, and maybe that's just the time for them to go that way. That now is their time that they are going down.
The crowd around the bar was buzzing, all eyes on Demi as she made her way through the cocktail menu. People started whispering and cheering, and before long, they were chanting her name. Demi, Demi, Demi. She soaked it all in, blowing kisses and raising her glass like the star she is. And then she took it up a notch. Demi climbed onto the bar, heels and all, and announced she was ready for a drinking game. The crowd went wild, pushing and shoving for a spot. It was chaos, but the real jaw-dropper. None other than Leonardo DiCaprio stepped up to challenge her. Yep, the Wolf of Wall Street versus G.I. Jane. The tension was real as the shots were poured. Round after round, the crowd counted down. By the third shot, Leo was starting to wobble, but Demi? She was cool as ever, tossing them back like it was nothing. In the end, there was no contest. Demi outdrank Leo with ease, leaving him to stumble off in defeat. Standing victorious on the bar, Demi raised her arms like a champ as the crowd went crazy, chanting her name louder than ever. But if you think that was the finale, think again. Demi's night was just getting started, and the best was yet to come.
Diddy always been the type of individual that wanted to have ups on the next person no matter what they was doing. Like, he always played artists against each other. He did it to Big, he did it to Craig Mack. You understand? I said before, he did the stuff to Ja Rule. You know what I'm saying? So had the ups on Ja Rule so he could go after Jay-Z. You understand what I'm saying? So he always played those kind of up games on people. So to have those cameras and know what he was doing, it's gonna give him the ups on everybody who came to that party. Even your favorite basketball player. Ain't no party like a Diddy party. We know who said that. He may be one of the person who got caught up in the Diddy party.
LeBron said that, but yeah, you might be right. You know, it sounds like he had all them hidden cameras to use it against people.
I think that was said in the indictment, right? That was said in the indictment. You know, somebody, I think Dawn may have said that. I don't know for sure. And correct me if I'm wrong. He would, even if you didn't want to do something, he would tell the individual, well, I got you on tape doing it before. And the person would feel pressured in having to do something or come and do something at the party or be at the party because he already had him on tape right then and there. But what you think when you do it the second time? He's still gonna have you on tape. Those tapes is the one who's killing, because people don't understand this. Little Rod, he's taping for Diddy in some occasions. When he wrote his indictment up, when he wrote his when his lawyer wrote up his briefs and submitted it, he must have had he must have been a prosecutor somewhere or something like that, because he wrote it up like it was an indictment. You understand? Saying all the stuff that had happened. Then people don't understand this. After he wrote it up and he had the tapes and everything, they sent that to the feds. The feds opened up a case on that. Everybody think it's happened. Oh, the feds looked at Cassie getting beaten, and then they just opened up a case. Nah. I think it was more so Lil Rob and them sending the feds that information. They put in a civil suit, then sent the other stuff over to the feds, and it read like an indictment. So they had to look at it because they see some crimes that was committed in that. And lo and behold, they do a raid on the house. So, to get back to your question, all the footage and everything that they have is going to either help, it's going to help them get some more people or get enough people just to hang Diddy.